Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Puri Brajakacharya Ashtotara Satyashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. And welcome everyone for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 in New York. And aside from the fact that we're very fortunate to have Maharaj with us today, Hare Krishna, thank you for joining us. We are in the fourth canto, fourth chapter, and my notes have us starting tonight with the last verse of the chapter, which is verse number 34. That's what my notes seem to say, and I'm ready to be corrected, but I'm also ready to start with verse number 34. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading about, this is a description of what's happening now in the sacrifice of Daksha after the disappearance of Sati. Thairaladhyudai sarve Ramata Sahakuyakaha Hanyamana Dasho Bhejur Ushadbhir Brahmatejasaha. When the Ribu demigods attacked the ghosts and Guyakas with half-burned fuel from the yajna fire, all these attendants of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. This was possible simply because of Brahmatejas, Brahminical power. The word Brahmatejasa used in this verse is significant. In those days, Brahmanas were so powerful that simply by desiring and by chanting a Vedic mantra, they could accomplish very wonderful effects. But in the present age of degradation, there are no such Brahmanas. According to the Pancharatrika system, in this age, the entire population is supposed to consist of Shudras, because the Brahminical culture has been lost. But if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted, according to Vaishnava Smriti regulations, as a prospective Brahmana, and should be given all facilities to achieve the highest perfection. The most magnanimous gift of Lord Chaitanya's is that the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, fourth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Sati Quits Her Body. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We last read how these Ribhu demigods appeared from the sacrificial fire as a result of Bhrigu Muni's quickly thinking and summoning them. Specifically, their qualification is, or their function, their purpose here, and perhaps at other times, is to kill those who destroy sacrifices. So they appeared as a result of Bhrigu Muni's quick thinking and quick chanting. And now we hear what happens as a result. They dispatch all of the attendants of Sati very quickly with firebrands from the sacrificial fire. And they appeared by the thousands. It wasn't a small thing. In yesterday's or Monday's gathering, Gurudas Prabhu brought up a point I thought was interesting, that Bhrigu Muni had such potency that he was able to summon all these demigods to do his bidding. And why didn't, if he had that kind of power, why didn't he just dispatch all those attendants of Sati himself? And after some reflection and discussion on this, it's not specifically stated, but if the facility is there to have the Ribu demigods do it, Brigamuni is a Brahmin, why get his hands dirty? If somebody else can do it, let them do it. But this shows the power of Brahmanas in previous times, that they could simply desire something, chant a mantra, and they would get what they wanted. We don't have that these days. We don't have Brahmanas. We don't have Kshatriyas to speak of, mostly Shudras with a few Vaishyas, as Prabhupada would have said. The whatever Kshatriyas apparently we have are mostly freaked out Shudras with guns. Nothing is what it used to be. Everything degrades in the material world. But Prabhupada makes the point in this purport. He says that if anyone displays the signs of understanding Krishna consciousness, he should be accepted as a prospective Brahmana. So a Brahmana is essentially, even though the age is degraded, people are degraded to the level of Shudras or less. A Brahmana is someone who knows Brahman. And Brahman is Krishna's energy. If you know Krishna, then you know Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And as we read in a previous chapter, Aho Bhattasvapacho Togariyan Yajjiva Gre Vartate Namatubhyam Te Pustapaste Juhuvu Sasnorarya Brahmanuchur Nama Grinantiyete. Oh, how glorious they are whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, we'd love to hear from you if you'd like to speak on something here.
Well covered. Carry on.
I wanted to ask, actually, Maharaj, if I could, at the end of the purport, Prabhupada said something I thought was very nice, and I would be happy if you chose to perhaps expand on it. He says that if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, I'm sorry, the highest perfection of life is available in this fallen age if one simply adopts the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is able to bring about the fulfillment of all activities in self-realization. I thought that was very beautifully put, but I don't know that I could expand on that, and I was wondering if you perhaps could say something about that point that Prabhupada makes.
Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tatati Shapadatikam. The Krishna Bhakti Koilo Sarva Karma Katohai in Caitanya-caritamrta. Just by Krishna Bhakti, one does everything, or one gets the result of all activities, karma. And our Krishna Bhakti is especially central to our Krishna Bhakti, is this chanting of Hare Krishna. So by chanting Hare Krishna, we can do everything, bring about the fulfillment of all activities and self-realization. All karma is done, all gyan is covered, and this is the highest program for self-realization. Also, the Mayavadis can go only to a certain point. But by chanting Hare Krishna, the fulfillment of all activities and self-realization, the richness of that, everything, we go from the neophyte stage of devotional service up to the highest stage by chanting Hare Krishna especially.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Rabbi Krishna Prabhu comments. He says, Vishvamitra could very easily kill the demons who were troubling the sages, but he went to bring Lord Ram to do the job. Thank you, Hare Krishna. So we've ended our our fourth chapter. Panchatattva Prabhu, could you kindly start us off on chapter 5?
Sure.
I'm sorry, just one minute. Could I just, there's a comment here I don't want to miss. Sorry to preempt you. Saraswati Mata says, Pranams Param Puja Maharaj. The process of achieving perfection by chanting is stated as simple and accessible to all, but the problem is chanting with offenses, which is frustrating. Oh, you're muted, Maharaj. Sorry.
Thank you. Therefore, it's very easy, but there's a process. We have to, Prabhupada called it a gradual cleansing process. So, utsaha nishchayat, we have to do it with enthusiasm and at the same time stick with it, and at the same time specifically avoid 10 offenses in chanting. So that requires some dedication on our part. Krishna will help us, but we have to dedicate ourselves to the project. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you for your patience, Panchatattva Prabhu.
Oh, what patience. That was really wonderful. Chapter 5, Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Maitreya uvacha bhavo bhavanya nidadam prajapater asatkritaya avagamya naradat saparsada sainyam chatat avarar saparshada sainyam chatat advarar bhubir hidravitam krodam aparam adadhe. Translation. Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribu demigods, he became greatly angry. Purport. Lord Shiva understood that Sati, being the youngest daughter of Daksha, could present the case of Lord Shiva's purity of purpose and would thus be able to mitigate the misunderstanding between Daksha and himself. But such a compromise was not attained, and Sati was deliberately insulted by her father by not being received properly when she visited his house without being invited. Sati herself could have killed her father, Daksha, because she is the personified material energy and has immense power to kill and create within this material universe. In the Brahma Samhita, her strength is described. She is capable of creating and dissolving many universes. But although she is so powerful, she acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as his shadow. It would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father, but she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him. Thus, she decided to give up her own body, which she had obtained from his, and Daksha did not even check her. When Sati passed away, giving up her body, the news was conveyed by Narada to Lord Shiva. Narada always carries the news of such events because he knows their import. When Lord Shiva heard that his chaste wife, Sati, was dead, he naturally became exceedingly angry. He also understood that Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribudev demigods by uttering the mantras of the Yajurveda, and that these demigods had driven away all his soldiers who were present in the arena of sacrifice. Therefore, he wanted to reply to this insult, and thus he decided to kill Daksha because he was the cause of the death of Sati. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurumalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Well, the first thing that jumped out at me in this purport is that Sati was, even in the face of such a heinous offense by Daksha towards her husband, she practiced a kind of restraint. She could have killed Daksha without a problem, but she refrained from doing so. She practiced this kind of discretion, which is an extraordinary self-control. You can imagine others would not have been so controlled, especially when they have the power. When you have power, it's very hard not to utilize it at the first opportunity. What to speak of it's in the event of such a great insult to someone who's so close to you. So Sati showed this discrimination and self-control, which is a very interesting facet of her character. Srila Prabhupada paraphrases the Brahma Samhita verse, Srishti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka, talking about the great power of the material energy. She is that of whom Sati is that energy personified. Her power is so great that she can create and dissolve many universes, Prabhupada says. And at the same time, she, as Srila Prabhupada again says, she acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Her activities are not unbridled or independent. As mentioned before, she's engaged in a thankless task of dealing with the rebellious conditioned souls who are trying to enjoy separately from Krishna, and giving the proper controls upon them in this material world so that they cannot create disturbance beyond it. And she acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, here described acting as his shadow, which is an interesting expression. As one moves, their shadow moves. The implication is in direction, but at the same time, in accordance with Krishna's desires. And then there's some mention of Narada Muni, who often appears in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam as a carrier of information, of news, bringing, and here it's described why. Sometimes it's described that Narada Muni is a kind of an instigator, but here Prabhupada describes it in this way. He always carries the news of such events because he knows their import. He knows how important such things are and who should hear them and why. So Narada Muni acts in this. It's also a kind of a confidential service to the Supreme Lord and the devotees that Narada Muni does this. And of course, we learn at the end of the purport, and also from the verse, that Narada Muni is that Lord Shiva is about to react or respond to Bhrigu Muni's actions, his action of producing the thousands of Ribu demigods to chase off basically those who were trying to protect Sati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Maharaj, would you care to comment here?
Only a short comment that Atma Sanyesha Satsvapi, we hear about fallible soldiers, and as the narrative unfolds, we'll find that the Ribu Devas created by the Brahmatejas of Bhrigu Muni turn out to be fallible soldiers.
Krishna. Going back a bit, there's a question from Prabhin Krishna Prabhu regarding Brahma Tejas that I missed before. Since there is no such Brahma Tejas visible today, is there any benefit to the Brahmanism of Vaishnava Smriti regulations?
There is Brahma Tejas. We see devotees go out and distribute enormous amounts of books. We see them go out and bring people to Krishna consciousness who otherwise would have been opposed or unreceptive or just stuck. So this is spiritual power, not the ability to create Vibhu demigods or do the other things mentioned. But this is also Brahma Tejas, spiritual power. Let's see. What else is there in your question? Hold on. The Brahmanism is, according to the Pancharatra, according to the Vedic system, all these things are there about yajna and so on, which the Brahmins are involved in. But in the present age, according to Pancharatra, devotees are purified by the Brahminical activities, worshiping the deity and other such activities. So the purpose of becoming a Brahmin is not just to have teja. It's not just to have power. The purpose is ultimately to know Krishna, Vedaishchar Savar, Hame Vivedya. So the devotees can do that. Of course, for that they don't need Brahminical initiation, but it was propagated or employed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, just to make the point that the devotees don't need other methods. Just by chanting Hare Krishna and following the rules and regulations of Pancharatra Vidhi, they can be transformed, as the Caitanya-caritamrta or Sanatana Goswami quotes, that bell metal can be changed to gold by an alchemical process. So the devotees can be purified and become better than the Yogic Brahmins. We see that the Yogic Brahmins in Vrindavan were just performing sacrifices for material upliftment, but a genuine devotee chants to be engaged in the service of Krishna. So that's higher than the Brahminical sphere. But the Brahminical initiation and deity worship are meant to help him in his progressive march, as Prabhupada would say.
Jai Maharaj, thank you so much. Saraswati Mata has a question here. She says, I recall reading that Srila Prabhupada stated that Durga's role to punish and kill all sinful conditional souls so that they can become Krishna conscious is done not with envy or vengeance, because she is a devotee and remains always a well-wisher of all jivas, including Daksha.
Yes.
And yes, okay. And Vijay Krishna Prabhu has a question. In the Bhagavad Gita, I see Lord Krishna chanting to Arjuna that one of the austerities of the body is to worship superiors like the father and mother. My question is, how do you explain the behavior of Sati in terms of worshiping her father? Is it that killing herself is the same as worshiping Daksha?
she's worshipping her husband. That's also superior. Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam. So she's worshipping Lord Shiva, who's first of all superior. He's superior to the material energy. He's the husband, so he's worshipable. So in that way, she's respecting the superior of the superior. Lord Shiva is far superior to Daksha. But yes, also out of respect for Daksha, she's not killing him. She's not personally killing him. So that's quite a concession, because she could have, as Prabhupada points out in the purport of the previous verse, it would have been easy for her to kill Daksha. As the material energy, she can do so many things. But the credit is left there for Lord Shiva himself to deal with Daksha and others. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. And Saraswati Mata clarifies, rather than that Durga's role is to kill sinful conditional souls, she said, I meant kick, not kill. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Madhupati Prabhu, I see that you're here. Are you able to read this evening? We have text number 2 available for you if you are.
Okay.
Jai.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Kurutas Jayadvaita Swami. Let me open the text.
There are a couple without purports. If you could just go ahead and read till we get a purport.
Okay. Sudasta Ostaputa Sadujati Jatam Tadidvani Satograrocisam Utkritya Rudra Sahaso Utita Hasan Gambira Nado Visarajatam Bhuvi. Thus Lord Shiva, being extremely angry, pressed his lips with his teeth and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair, which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once, laughing like a madman, and dashed the hair to the ground. Tatah atikaya tanuva sprishan divam sahasrabahu ganarukatri suryadrik करालदम स्त्रोज्वलद अग्नि मूर्धजा कपाल कपालमाली विविध उद्यत ayudha. A fearful black demon as high as the sky and as bright as 3 suns combined was thereby created. His teeth very fearful, and the hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with the heads of men. Tam kim karomi iti krinantam aha Baddha Anjalim Bhagwan Bhuttanatha Daksham Sayagyam Jahimad Bhatanam Tvam Agrani Rudra Batam Shako Me. When that gigantic demon asked with folded hands, What shall I do, my lord? Lord Shiva, who is known as Bhutanatha, directly ordered, Because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. therefore killed Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice. Purport. Here is the beginning of competition between Brahma Tejas and Shiva Tejas. By Brahma Tejas, Brahmanical strength, Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribu demigods who had driven away the soldiers of Lord Shiva stationed in the arena. When Lord Shiva heard that his soldiers had been driven away, he created a tall black demon, Virabhadra, to retaliate. There is sometimes a competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance. That is the way of material existence. Even when one is situated in the mode of goodness, there is every possibility that his position will be mixed with or attacked by the mode of passion or ignorance. That is the law of material nature. Although pure goodness or Suddha Sattva is a basic principle in the spiritual world, pure manifestation of goodness is not possible in this material world. Thus, the struggle for existence between different material qualities is always present. This quarrel between Lord Shiva and Bhrigu Muni, centering around Prajapati Daksha, is a practical example of such competition between the different qualitative modes of material nature. Om Ajnanatimindasya Jalanjana Salakaya Chakshurmitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Yeah. So here we see this verses that when Lord Shiva gets the news that his consort Sati, who had gone to her father's place and being insulted, could not bear the insult and the insult of her husband, Lord Shiva, and she decided to give up her body. And further, Bhrigu Muni had created from the sacrificial fire the Ribhu demigods to drive away the associates who were escorting Mother Sati, associates of Lord Shiva. So, hearing that, Lord Shiva became angry and right from his hair, he created this demon, Virabhadra, was mentioned had thousands of heads, was as tall as touching the sky, and after creating the demon approached Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is kind of mentioning, instructing him that, oh, now go and kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice. And Srila Prabhupada here mentions about the Brahma Tejas and the Shiva Tejas, competition between them, where with the Brahma Tejas, Bhrigu Muni had created Ribhu demigods, and now with the Shiva Tejas, he had created this powerful demon Virabhadra to retaliate. And now the competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned that is a way of material existence, that all these different modes, acts, Prajapati Daksha, also being influenced by the modes, he acted to insult Lord Shiva, commit Vaishnava Aparadh, and also, did not care for his daughter, who ultimately committed, gave up her life. And then Lord Shiva is kind of retaliating to kill this demonic quality of Daksha. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thanks so much, Madhupati Prabhu. Maharaj, would you care to say something here?
As Prabhupada says, there's always competition. That's Bhagavad Gita, Rajas Tamas Chavi Bhuya Sattvam Bhavati Bharata. Then Rajas Sattvam Tamas Chaiva, Tamas Sattvam Rajas Tata. Sometimes goodness becomes prominent, sometimes ignorance, sometimes passion, and then the other two modes are diminished. So this, in the spiritual world, there's Vishuddha Sattva, completely pure goodness. But in the material world, the goodness is always mixed with something. And goodness is not always prominent. Sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's ignorance. So that's the material world. All right, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Saraswati Mata says, I thought Shiva is situated in the mode of pure goodness as he is the greatest Vaishnava. Even in the material world, pure goodness must exist, as there are pure devotees here too. Also, the two competitive modes of goodness and ignorance mentioned cannot surely mean Shiva is under the influence of the mode of ignorance, since Bhrigu Muni is acting more in that mode than the mode of goodness.
Well, there's several things here. First of all, the pure devotees are not actually in the material world. They're in the transcendental position. Apart from that, the Lord Shiva is described has slight touch of material nature. We see that in another pastime where Bhrigu Muni is deputed to find out who among the three deities is supreme, Brahma, Vishnu, or Lord Shiva. And as you might recall, he insults each of them progressively. Insults Brahma by a verbal offense, insults Brahma by a mental offense, Lord Shiva by a verbal offense, and finally Lord Vishnu by corporal offense, by kicking him. So, and he sees that Brahma and Shiva become angry. Lord Brahma becomes angry, and he's controlling his anger by his intelligence. And Lord Shiva becomes angry, but his wife pacifies him. But Lord Vishnu is not at all disturbed because he's in the pure goodness. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. See if there's anything else there. So it's described Lord Shiva is slightly affected as yogurt is milk with some changed by a sour substance. Lord Shiva is practically on the level of Lord Vishnu, but by contact with material energy, he's slightly changed. So he's not entirely immune. And yes, he's a pure devotee, so that's another angle of vision or another way of seeing things. But here he's in touch with the material nature, so he's slightly affected. And here, in this case, considerably angry. Even if we think that Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance, or not in the mode of ignorance, but affected by the mode of ignorance, he uses the qualities of the mode of ignorance for the service of the Lord. So when it's time for destruction, Lord Shiva does it by Krishna's desire. And we hear that he dances and there's some anger and so on. But that's all transcendental. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. And Saraswati Mata says, thank you for clarifying everything. There's a comment here from Venkatesh Prabhu. I think this is more of a sidebar type comment, but I'll read it. One of the objectives for approved research work for my ongoing master's in education degree is, quote, to explore how the Bhagavad Gita's teachings on the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, can inform and enhance our understanding of various leadership styles in the context of education, close quote. I beg the blessings of all Vaishnavas to do this service properly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Radhesha Prabhu, are you able to read? I see you. I'd love to hear you also.
Can you hear me? I'm on a different device.
You are audible.
Oh, okay. 455? Is that correct?
Making sure. Yes, sir.
Agnapta evam kupitena manyuna sadeva devam parichakrame vibhum mene tadatmanam asangarang hasa mahiyasam tata saha sahishnum. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, that black person was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was prepared to execute the orders of Shiva. Thus, considering himself capable of coping with any power offered against him, he circumambulated Lord Shiva. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami iti namine. Mahiyasam. A couple of just words in this verse that remind me of other verses. Mahiyasam Padra Jobhishekam. So Virabhadra, when he takes shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, circumambulating him, he becomes very powerful. Nishkinchananam Navrinityavat. Until that point that you surrender to a great Vaishnava, then actually nothing is possible. And then I thought when I saw Asanga Ranghasa, I thought of Kalena Sarvatra Gabhira Ranghasa, the power of the time factor, bringing happiness and distress. But here it's equated with Lord Shiva, the power of Lord Shiva that cannot be opposed. Such a force, and similarly, his great general of his army. We were discussing in my family recently how powerful Virabhadra and his a man of action more than a man of words. I'll continue to the next verse. Anviyamana Saturudra Parshadar Bhrisham Nadadbhir Vyanadat Subhairavam Udyamya Shulam Jagadantakantakam Sampradravad Bhushanangrihi. Many other soldiers of Lord Shiva followed the fierce personality in a tumultuous uproar. He carried a great trident, fearful enough to kill even death, and on his legs he wore bangles, which seemed to roar. Athartvijo yajamana sadasyah kakubhyudichyam prasamiksharenum tamakhimetad kuta etadrajo bhud etidvijad vijapatnyascha dadyuhu. At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena, the priests, the chief of the sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas and their wives, wondered where the darkness was coming from. Later, they could understand that it was a dust storm, and all of them were full of anxiety. Vata navanti nahi santi dasyava Prachina barhir jivati hogradandam gavo na kalyante dam kuto rajo loko dhunakim pralayaya kalpate. Conjecturing on the origin of the storm, they said, there is no wind blowing and no cows are passing, nor is it possible that this dust storm could be raised by plunderers, for there is still the strong king Barhi, who would punish them. Where is this dust storm blowing from? Is the dissolution of the planet now to occur? Prasuti Mishra Striya Udvigna Chitta Uchur Vipako Vichanasya Tasya Yat Pashyanti Nam Duhitrinam Prajesha Sutam Satim Avadadhyavam Anagam. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, along with the other women assembled, became very anxious and said, this danger has been created by Daksha because of the death of Sati, who, even though completely innocent, quit her body as her sisters looked on.
Hare Krishna. Just
Yeah.
wanted to pause here briefly. There is a purport for text number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on a different device, and oh yes. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I saw Guru Maharaj. I saw you come on also. I realized my mistake. Forgive me. Purport. Specifically significant in this verse is Prachina Barhir Jivati. The king of that part of the land was known as Barhi, and though he was old, he was still living, and he was a very strong ruler. Thus, there was no possibility of an invasion by thieves and plunderers. Indirectly, it is stated here that thieves, plunderers, rogues, and unwanted population can exist only in a state or kingdom where there is no strong ruler. When, in the name of justice, thieves are allowed liberty, the state and kingdom are disturbed by such plunderers and unwanted population. The dust storm created by the soldiers and assistants of Lord Shiva resembled the situation at the time of the dissolution of this world. When there is a need for the dissolution of the material creation, this function is conducted by Lord Shiva. Therefore, the situation now created by him resembled the dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. So Prachini Barhisha, we understand that he was performing so many yajnas that it seemed as though this kusha grass was spread all over the whole planet. So a very pious king and very capable of quelling such plunderers and thieves. So they're wondering, where is this great disturbance coming from? And as I gave a sneak peek on the next verse, forgive me, they correctly deduce what the cause is. Shiva has become incredibly angry at the demise of his wife, and he's sent Virabhadra to punish those responsible. I don't have anything more if you have something on this, Guru Maharaj.
Prachina Barhi Jivati, the king is alive. He's not a dead king. He's not a ruler with no power. He's powerful. We're reminded that even Vena, although he was vicious, was powerful. And so the thieves were afraid. And there was a dust storm, which was from the thieves. When Vena took charge, the thieves, the dust from their flight could be seen. They were eager to get away. So that's good government. The government should be so strong that thieves and rogues are afraid to transgress the law. I'm in South Africa at the moment, where the opposite is true, where the government has become weak, and therefore thieves and rogues are rampant. So this is the duty of the king. He should be so strong that he'll Ugradanda, he'll very strongly punish evildoers. This is the Kshatriya's duty.
I have a quick question, Guru Maharaj, as to, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions his age. King Prachini Barhi was very old, and it seems that the succession planning may not have been so intact in his regime. Is there
Seems
some?
like that. Let me just, again, you're saying that succession planning may not have been, but there was no need. He was strong, so he kept on. Yeah, this is not ideal. The king should be succeeded by a strong young successor. So, yeah, old King King Barhi. We prefer to see a young king and the old king retire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maj. I need to go back a little bit in the chat. There was quite a bit of activity, but Tulsi Priya had a comment regarding Sati's choice of
Actually,
action.
I have a question for Maharaj, if I can ask that instead.
Of course.
Comment was just a comment. I recently heard about how, well, I knew about this for a while, but I heard a specific incident about how they deal with crime in Singapore. And basically, to keep it very short and leave out the gory details, some thief was sentenced to prison and caning. And he said after he got out of prison that he would never commit another crime again because he could tolerate prison, but he only got 3 strokes of the cane, and it was so bad that he's terrified to ever have to get caned again. And then I had posted something about this on Facebook, and people were asking, were there prisons in Vedic times? And somebody else said that they don't remember reading anything about prisons in Manu. So I'm just wondering if that's like the standard Vedic punishment, either corporal punishment or death for crimes.
Danda Dhammayatam Asmi. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says of methods of subduing criminals. I'm Danda. So Danda is, what's the word? Abstractly punishment, but then concretely, it's you can get caned. Yeah.
It seems like a more effective deterrent, you know, the chance.
Prisons are so complicated. You wind up having to hire a whole police force, and you're spending money. The innocent citizens who are being robbed by the thieves now have to pay for to feed and clothe the thieves. Now the thieves will live at the expense of the state, maybe not very happily, but the whole thing becomes a great burden on the state. So, and then the thieves are let out prematurely to go out and steal again. So yes, it doesn't. We don't hear much about prison in Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Maharaj. Our time is drawing to a close, and we just had a flurry of activity in the chat window. Panchatattva brings up the point that Kamsa had a jail for being Krishna. Prabhu says, Lord Krishna appeared in a prison. And then Praveen Krishna also says, King Barhi retired even before the Prachetas came back to the kingdom. And Saraswati Mata brings up, we hear of cyber attacks on governmental departments where huge ransom demands are met by the government that accepts defeat. And Tulsi Priya asks in connection with Vasudeva and Devaki, were they actually in a prison or simply imprisoned? I mean, kept against their will.
We usually hear that it's a prison. But any place where you're imprisoned, that's prison. We don't hear about that Kamsa had, a whole set up the way we have modern prisons. But they wanted to imprison you, they could do it.
Yeah. House arrest in the palace, Tulsi Priya says. So thank you very much. And Sita was imprisoned in the garden of Ravana. So yeah, I'm sure we could come up with many more examples, but it's 8:01. And we do have a kirtan band on the island waiting to go. So please, Radhesha Prabhu and company, go ahead.
What do I click to enable original audio on a computer? Do you have advice for me so that you can hear them?
Yeah, they just changed their interface. So up at the very top bar of the Zoom screen, it should say recording, custom live streaming service, sign in, original sound for musicians. Click that where it says original sound for musicians, and it should turn on if you see that option.
I see everything except for that.
Darn.
All right.
Try where it says audio settings.
Original sound musician. Microphone, same as leave computer audio.
Okay,
all right.
so audio profile, when you're in the audio settings, audio profile, original sound for musicians, you have to click that button.
I don't want to distract from kirtan, so I think we'll just go a cappella.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Where's the recording?
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajak Charja Stottarista Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kundikiti Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadev Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much. Thank you for that kirtan. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And for everyone for being here. Tulsi Priya, closing comment in Krishna book, Prabhupada said Vasudeva and Devaki were shackled in iron chains. So, prison. Hare Krishna. Thank you especially, Maharaj, for being with us. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj ki jai.
Jai,
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Bol.
Venkatesh Prabhu says, wonderful kirtan from the island.
Deva Deva and Radhesha and company. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
This is Madhurya Rasa Devi is here.
Hare Krishna.
Hari. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Madhurya Rasa is there in Hawaii.
Yeah, Mother Sundamani sent her to help out the forces of New Navadvip Dham.
Okay.
I'll be here
Thank
for
you very
another
much.
4 days or so.
Very good. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Shara, thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you to all.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.